Hello, welcome to a review of the two latest pieces of digital content to arrive on the KDM simulator. This is Lionclaw Lenore and Stampede Glaive Xell. These are both modelled in the same vein as Morg, with the difference that they have physical versions. So one would assume and hope that's going to happen for Morg in the future, but I discussed in the Morg review why I don't want to see digital only content. I prefer this. So each of these can be bought digitally for $5 or physically for $30 plus shipping, any import, customs, VAT, etc. taxes. Now I've got the physical versions, and as you can see I purchased the digital versions all with paid for by myself or via the Patreon income. Thank you to those of you who do support. And I'm going to start with a look at what these are doing in themselves, because they have the same mechanics. And I did a big overview of Indomitable in the Morg review, so we're going to be a little shorter here. Indomitable survivors come with a miniature, either physical, plastic, or digital, a Indomitable resource, a pattern that is gained when you first gain the Indomitable resource, and then an item or items, a weapon, like a card that you would craft from the recipe. These are usually limited by the number of patterns you can craft, and normally it is one pattern gear that you can craft. Typically, if you can craft more than one, it means that the gear in question is paired. How you get an Indomitable resource is when you defeat an Indomitable monster, that is a level 3 version of a given monster, you get to draw a random Indomitable resource as part of your rewards. This is an improved version of the old get a specific strange resource that was used previously. I really like how Indomitable resources work. They were mostly brought to the forefront when we got to the gambler's chest. As a little aside, and something I've wanted to talk about for a while, I think a bit of an error was made with the gambler's chest in that the Phoenix has the knowledge, meal, Indomitable, pattern, and scout cards all in the gambler's chest. But the White Lion and the Screaming Antelope don't have the Indomitable resources and patterns and associated weapons. They just have the normal seed patterns and the knowledges and the meal and the scout cards. It's made for an awkward situation because trying to recommend somebody's first step after they've played the core game a bit is going to be difficult in the future. If everything was in the gambler's chest, it would be really easy to turn and say, hi, yeah, just get the gambler's chest. I know it's expensive, but it's going to give you 2 additional new quarries. It's going to give you a load of stuff for the 3 quarries that are from the core game, upgrading all of them, and that's really sweet, and a whole new campaign, etc., etc. But as it stands, we're going to see the Indomitable resources for the White Lion and Screaming Antelope likely in Campaigns of Death. And Campaigns of Death, of course, has a ton of content that's going to be relating to the first generation of expansions, Dragon King, Dung-Beetle Knight, Sunstalker, etc., etc. So it's an awkward spot to be in. That doesn't have any genuine impact upon these 2 boxes. In fact, I think the Indomitable resources we're getting in these is immensely fun, it's great, and it's nice that we're getting some. We've got the Gorm, White Lion and Screaming Antelope now, all with their own Indomitable resource. One would hope next up is Spediculus and the Flower Knights as they gradually work their way up through them all. That's all really sweet and cool and interesting, but I did want somewhere to express this concern, not because anything can be done about it now. The gambler's chest is out there, it's been printed, the decision has already been made, but I would like to see that kind of thing avoided in the future when Team Death APG puts something else out. Try and keep all the content related to a given monster in an expansion together in one spot. Still, let's get to talking about these two particular boxes and what they have. So you've got Lenore. These are like digital representations of the actual physical boxes you'll get, along with the models and sculpts. We're going to look at Lenore first, and then we'll look at Xell afterwards. So shall we open up this box and take a look? So as we can see with Lenore, we've got our install guide, the overgrown Dewclaw, the Lionclaw, and the other Lionclaw. I'm going to unbox this and digitally recycle, as you can see, and we'll be back in a moment once this is all on the table to look at. Okay, so we've gotten it all out, and we'll start off by taking a look at the digital updates and inspection of the model. So here she is. The physical version only has the Lionclaw, which he holds in one hand, but default on the simulator is this double Qatar line beast Qatar holding. Definitely something you could convert the Lenore model into if you wanted to physically. I think this is... I like this sculpt. I've always liked the design of the White Lion armour. This is a fun variant of it, even if it does have silly little heels, which aren't really practical, but I mean, you know, this is an anime game, really. So let's take a look at the various different Qatars. I've got a few examples. Here's the Oxidized Beast Qatar. If we look there, it's the same model, because it's just the same thing, which is fantastic. You can see that it does update and change it. Then we have here the hooded scrap Qatar from Spediculus. So we can see that modelled on this little shield arm, little arm protectors. Actually, I want to go and take a bit more of a look at that, because that is, yeah, that's a nice looking Qatar, that one. Very much appreciate that. Okay, then we have the Talon Knife from the Dragon King. Very cool. I wish these Qatars were better, because they do have some wonderful detailing on them. I think they're very fun. And then we have the Digging Claw. This is one of the best Qatars in the core game and first generation. Yep, very nice. It should be exactly the same if we flip it. Yep, there we are, exactly the same. And finally, let's just put all of these out of the way, and we'll take a look at what it's like with the Lionclaw on there. Okay, so this is the pose and everything that the physical one has. The nice little lantern there. It's just a good... I say good. It's a good sculpt. This is a little awkward with the overhang, but fortunately there's never a lot of models on the showdown board, so it doesn't get too crowded. And the pose is a little, I don't know, flat. It could have been more dynamic, but I still do like the overall thing. I like how Lenore looks, and generally pretty positive about this. Okay. So let's just take that back off her for now, and we'll go into the game content. All right, you've got your install guide. Explains it all. Very straightforward. I basically ran through that in the introduction, so we don't need to worry too much more about that. Then we have the Indomitable resource itself, the overgrown Dewclaw, with Indomitable, Perfect, and Bone for its keywords. And you'll gain the Lionclaw. And as we can see, the Lionclaw itself is a pattern. You can craft one maximum, and it costs the overgrown Dewclaw 2 iron, 2 bone, 2 hide, and requires you having innovative nightmare training, which is absolutely fine. Nightmare training is a very good innovation, so this I think is all costed correctly and slotted in the right spot. It's just, I appreciate this. I think it's well designed on that front. The gear card itself is here. It is a weapon melee bone Qatar. 3 speed, 6+ accuracy, 3 strength, a right facing red, a down facing blue, with reach 2, deadly and sharp. And if you have the puzzle red connected and have a blue in your gear grid somewhere, when you pounce with this, cancel reactions on one hit location of your choice, which is kind of like that stacks with Qatar specialization itself. So you've got a lot of reaction cancelling, which is fantastic. The trouble with the Lionclaw, it really comes into play once you start looking at it in the gear grid. So we have here our white line armor set. And because White Lion has such a awkward set of affinities, having the Lionclaw, and you need the Lionclaw if you want to be pouncing, really causes you problems. As we can see, I've set this up here to try and give space to put a Lucky Charm and another blue into here to leverage the Deadly. But you may want like some other options. No matter what happens, there's no real way to get the White Line boots and the helm and the Lionclaw all active. And on top of that, White Line armor lacks armor points. In addition, the Lionclaw's like pounce extra ability stops working if it's on any other armor set, because you can only pounce via the White Lion coat at the moment. So that is like a number of points against the Lionclaw, but Sharp on this attack profile is very competitive, and Reach 2 means you can move this across to other armor sets with various monster movement abilities, such as Dragon Armor, Phoenix Armor, etc. And you don't need to worry about getting the affinities active then, you can just use it to help out other affinity layouts instead. Ultimately, it's not the Lionclaw's fault that White Lion armor causes these problems. Okay, now let's go on to the digital only bit of content. So what we have, first of all, you'll notice when we zoom in, we don't get a name and chord played. Lenore doesn't get anything. If she does in the future, I'd like to recommend she get some harp music, because the Whisker harp is the White Lion instrument. That would be cool and fun. But we do see we have a bunch of new things here. So what we're going to do is just take a quick look at them. Let's start by looking at pounce. Okay, so we can pounce, and this I think is really nice. Makes it nice and clear, and you see it's not letting me go through the White Line because pounce won't do that. So it's been well coded. And let's watch this. I don't know what that noise is, but sure. Now we're here. Let's try and pounce back the other way, and we get to attack. And it gives us our options to attack with. We'll take the Lionclaw. This is a level 3. We pick our target. Here we go. There we are. 2 hits, 1 miss. So they're constantly refining work on this, and additionally, Lenore is like far more combat capable than Morg was, as we can see. Right, let's discard those, and we shall pop Lenore out of the way now. We'll put you down here, and it's going to be time to go through the Xell portion of the review with the Screaming Antelope things. So let us open the box. Okay, we can already see a wide selection of different spears and axes. Well, specifically like axe spears for the most part. I'm not going to showcase every single one of them, because maybe I will. We'll take a look. I'll see if I can find all of the cards for this and showcase her with every single different weapon that she can have. But anyway, you can see physically you'll just get this model. Digitally, you get all this extra swapping out. You get the install guide, the resource, the pattern, and the gear card. So let's get this all recycled, and I shall be back in a moment with hopefully all of these different weapons to showcase it. Okay, so here we are with the model. She's currently holding her standard Stampede Glaive, which is a very nicely detailed weapon. All those little denticles and everything. I like this model a lot. It's very reminiscent of the, I think it's Ambitionism tier of, it might be Regalism, I can't remember. One of the higher tiers in the Gambler's Chest has this kind of aesthetic to it. I do think it's Ambitionism. And I really like all the touches. There's this little Screaming Antelope head. The hands that are used to hold the cape together is really a unique and exciting design. I think this is a wonderful piece of kit, and it's got some great Screaming Antelope flavour to it. It's absolutely something I am going to be using on the table. I just love it to pieces. Let's have a look how she switches things around. So we've gotten hopefully all of the spears that are in the KDM simulator. I believe I've found them all. We'll start with the King's Spear. Let's bring Xell over here to make it nice and easy to take a look at her. There we go. There's so much more detail that you can see in the mod when you're looking at these spears and everything, because they've added a little bit extra detailing to the texture, which is gorgeous. Okay, next up we have the Amber Poleaxe from Spediculus. There we go. Rather good little early game weapon. This one, it's an axe spear, and it's got a auto wound ability. Then we have the lovely Finger of God, just enough to slay a Smog Singer. Lantern Halberd, if you want to cosplay as a Kingsman because you're a glutton for punishment. It's a decent enough weapon though. Nice to randomly find, to get all the times that you do. Okay, then we have the Sky Harpoon. I really like this weapon. It's super unique and very interesting, and it always looks really cool as well. There we go. The Screaming Armour Lance of Longinus. This has gotten better with the introduction of the Stampede Glaive, because the Stampede Glaive is an axe and the Lance of Longinus is a spear, and as a consequence you can put the Stampede Glaive on an axe user and you can run the Lance of Longinus on a spear user, because you don't want your spear user to die, so you'd be looking to protect them, so irreplaceable isn't too bad. And of course if they do die, then you've got a backup spear already. It's interesting how it changed the dynamic of the Lance of Longinus just a bit by there being something else gained alongside it. And then we have the Lantern Glaive, likely the end game weapon for this kind of survivor, at least in the core game, especially because it can be upgraded during People of the Lantern. A very solid weapon, and axe spear is a great combo for weapon types. And then finally we have the Dragon King specific Celestial Spear, which I haven't talked about in this video series yet, or the series of videos I should say I'm recording, but I will get onto it at some point. It's a really nice design. It's very beautiful, and I like it a lot. So that's all of those. Let's look at the gear, and then we will discuss the use of the Stampede Glaive on gear grids, and demonstrate the animations for her. So first up, we have the install guide, same as before. Here we get the denticulated blade hip, denticulated the teeth on it. So the Screaming Antelope has teeth on its all over its inside. This kind of lines up with the mouth on the bottom. It's an interesting insight into the anatomy. This is an Indomitable bone resource. You'll notice it's not perfect, which is a little different. It gives you this pattern, the Stampede Glaive. You can craft one. It's a denticulated blade hip, a perfect organ, and 3 bones, so pretty cheap. Hold on to a perfect organ if you're planning to make this. And what we get is the Stampede Glaive, weapon, melee, axe, spear, two-handed, and bone. attack profile of 1 speed, 7 plus accuracy, 7 strength, reach 2, and when you dash, this weapon gains +1 speed until the end of the showdown, so you'll track that with tokens on here. It also has a left blue and an up blue, so everything about this weapon is really good. Okay, it doesn't exclusively have sections that need the Screaming Armor to work. It has an incredibly rare and useful pairing of affinities. If we look at it here on the Screaming Antelope gear grid, we can see how it fits in, and just with any down facing blue, I've used the Elder Earrings because that's core game, but there's so many other options like spikes, shoulder spikes from the Gorm or the Gorn itself and so on. There's a bunch of ways you can put this in here, and suddenly we've got 4 blue affinities, which means we can have the blue charm ready, which gives us Unshakable, and that will stack with spear specialization and gives you 2 chances of like disarming the trap whenever you hit it. So amazing, really well done. Love this layout. Love how the weapon like rewards you for dashing, very thematic. It'll gradually scale things up. You probably need to stop dashing after a certain point, but the great thing about spears is you don't mind having 4 or even 5 speed on a spear, because with the reach and with the spear specialization and the blue charm, you don't mind hitting into the trap, because often you can negate it and still get to resolve a lot of your attack, which is absolutely fantastic. So the Stampede Glaive is one of the best designed weapons I've seen in recent times. It is absolutely fantastic. And even better, once you've progressed the campaign a bit and Screaming Armor is sort of falling off because it's not durable and tough enough, hey, it solves the problem on Dragon Armor, and Dragon Armor loves a good reach weapon because it has the leap ability, which will add 5 strength to Stampede Glaive and scale it even further into the latter part of a campaign. Absolutely phenomenal. Just thoroughly impressed with everything about Stampede Glaive. It is definitely the better of these 2 pieces of gear. So we'll just quickly take a look at Xell in action. Let's do her attack first. We'll use the glaive. Oh, perfect hit. Man, the ladies know how to get it done compared to Morg, don't they? Hello, so during the editing I realised I hadn't highlighted one of the newer features included on Xell, so I'm going to do that now. You may have seen a little bit of it in the footage, but let's talk about it properly. When we do our dash with Xell, let's do our proper dash. Boonk. We'll see the glaive itself gets this nice little glowing effect on top of the text, which is super, super cool. If we just do it again. Whoop. Which is nice. Interestingly, at the moment, the simulator seems to play this noise when I enter the dwelling as well. So it might be a tiny bit bugged in an inconsequential way. But if we look over here, look at that. It's updated the number, put it in blue, so we're very clear. And then if we take this off, it just resets, and at the end of the showdown, all sorted. So that's a really nice effect as well. This is the kind of thing that I love about the digital edition with what they're adding, and I just really wanted to give it a proper little showcase, because I didn't mention it earlier. It's fantastic. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. So let's get her back over here and put her next to Lenore, and we'll do a final thoughts. So I think both of these are absolutely fantastic on the simulator. In particular, $5 if you're playing on the simulator is a very reasonable ask, and you're actually getting some extra things like animations and automation, which has been put into the simulator anyway, but that is just handling how the glaive works, all automatically, and I think it's really fantastic. Really, really good. When it comes to the physical nature, suddenly you're paying $30, which, that's quite an increase, and that's without considering shipping and other bits and pieces. So you may be a little more reticent to get them then, which I think is fair enough. If I was only going to pick one, it's Xell. Xell is by far and away the better of the two because of how well designed the Stampede Glaive is, how incredibly it fits into the Screaming Armour, and also fixes a problem that exists within Dragon Armour and synergizes with Dragon Armour as well. The Lionclaw, on the other hand, it's a very good weapon, but it's got the problem that part of its mechanics are tied directly to the White Lion armour via pounce, and unless you can pounce through some other manner, you will lose that functionality. And being tied to White Lion armour, as I talked about, is kind of terrible, because, hey, White Lion armour just honestly needs an update. And I'm going to say, if it doesn't get a revision in Campaigns of Death, that's like the last opportunity that they have to really sensibly fix this, because I don't think they're going to revisit the content outside of legendary packs, and they were already told for the previous legendary pack that White Lion armor needed being looked at, and it hasn't really changed beyond getting some support via People of the Sun. White Lion armor is just meh. It needs more armor points, it needs better affinities. So ultimately, I still don't think the Lionclaw is bad. I think it's a great purchase on the KDM simulator. I think it's a fine purchase physically, but as I say, if you had to pick one, it should be Xell. Now, if you have to pick one versus Lenore, Xell and Morg, it's still Xell, but Morg comes in decently in second place because the Greatest Gax is nicely designed. So that's it. That's these two new releases. Hopefully we'll get some more white box content, and I really hope we get the Gambler's Chest onto here sometime during this year. But for now, when you're out there in the darkness, happy hunting.